As many of you already know, rebrand stories are some of my favorite ones to listen to and to tell. And that's because rebrands are always so unique to the companies and organizations that are doing it. Whether it's a provider organization or a health IT solutions company, I always find it fascinating to hear about the challenges that they faced and the reception that the new brand has had. So, today on Swaay.Health, we're going to be talking to Jeff Richards, who's the co-founder and COO of SnapCare, formerly SnapNurse. We're going to talk about his rebrand and the very unique challenges that they ran into. Hello and welcome to Swaay.Health, where we cover and bring you the latest interesting stories and insights from the brightest minds in healthcare marketing. I'm Colin Hung, and I hope you enjoy today's interview. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to sit down with you and talk to you about the rebrand that you just went through, going from SnapNurse to SnapCare. But before we get there, Jeff, can you give our audience just a quick overview of your role and your company?
Sure. Well, again, Colin, thanks so much for having me on. It's an honor to be here and share a little about our company story and the rebrand that we just went through with you and with your listeners. My name is Jeff Richards. I'm the Chief Operating and Development Officer for SnapCare, which was formerly SnapNurse. And my partner and I launched the company in 2017. And we've been through and have a pretty publicly documented story of remarkable, almost impossible growth in a compressed period of time. But myself, I'm a healthcare clinician by training, and so was my partner, Sheree Kloss. We went to school together at Emory University's anesthesia program back in the late 90s. And then as part of the story of the company, we went our separate ways for 19 years. And what happened is after 19 years and going separate directions, my partner reached out to me and said, hey, could you help me with my healthcare startup? It's called SnapNurse. And at the time, I was in MBA school here in Atlanta, and I had just written a paper about a mobile healthcare staffing app that was yet unnamed. But I'm sure as your listeners will hear this, it's like a lot of successful businesses, it started with an impossible alignment for us, the two of us, having the same idea at the same time, not talking to each other, and then connecting. And when we met up and I saw her pitch deck, I realized, this is what I want to do.
If you could, in a couple of lines, what is the essence of what SnapCare provides?
Excellent question. So we raised money, and of course, at that time we were SnapNurse, and basically the entire concept is a two-sided marketplace, right? With clinicians on one side and facilities on the other, right? Facilities like my own hospital, Grady, that desperately need an easier interface, a marketplace, a talent marketplace to access clinicians, utilizing filters. It was often spoken about as an Uber for nurses when we first launched, which helps, I think, any listener get their head wrapped around the concept of it, right? You've got to have a technology platform to deliver input from both sides of that marketplace, but it doesn't do justice to the lift in healthcare. You're talking about credentialing clinicians and assuring that there is an appropriate match to the acuity of the clinician with the acuity of the facility and the care that they're going to provide. And that's all the specialties, which primarily, as we launched, was nursing focused. And as we are today, it's become SnapCare, and that's the entire array of clinical clinicians in the marketplace, well beyond nursing, where we are today.
Gotcha. Well, we love a good rebrand story here at Swaay.Health. It's one of my favorite topics to cover because it's so interesting to hear the different reasons, the different challenges that people go through, because it's not easy to rebrand a company.
It is not.
So if you think back for a moment, Jeff, was there a sort of light bulb moment or a particular conversation or something that just that was the trigger, or maybe the straw that broke the camel's back that said we needed to rebrand from SnapNurse to SnapCare?
Yeah, I think another great question. I think the story of our company, especially in like any company that gets started, we had a vision for what we wanted to do and bring to the marketplace, but we were in this, epic struggle from the beginning Are we a services company that provides clinicians? And we are. Or are we a technology company that's building a platform that creates the intersection for the service delivery, which we are as well? So it's this technology company, services company. And as we started, we were very focused on technology first. That was the value proposition, that we were going to create this platform to allow for, self-service on both sides. And we successfully penetrated the Atlanta market, had over 50 clients, and up to by the end of 2019, almost 10,000 clinicians on the platform. But what we could have not known is that a 100-year pandemic would strike this country, and of course, all the locations where we were serving our clients, which transformed our company. That was one of those lightning bolt moments. It was a crisis too, and so it's not something we would have wanted to happen or could have expected to happen. But when it did, what we did not realize is that the platform could scale in a way that a brick and mortar company just cannot do. And it allowed us to grow to where we are today, which is 370,000 clinicians on the platform and growing, month over month rapidly, as well as thousands of facilities. So during that crisis, we outperformed, basically every other platform, every other company that provides contingent staffing, and it enabled us to grow to incredible heights. It was almost impossible to cram almost 30 years of business development into about a 2-year period, but that is what happened. And so when you ask about the lightning bolt moment, it's really, we started as a technology first company with clinicians as part of our service delivery, and then became almost a humanitarian relief organization sitting on top of a technology platform where delivery of clinicians rapidly, fully credentialed all over the country that was the business that we were in. And that business didn't exist at that scale prior to COVID. And as COVID started to wind down and ended, it went away. It went away in the way in which it was happening, which was essentially unlimited demand coming at us and other companies in our industry, and us outperforming. But then as it went away, we saw an opportunity, as we often have, and we've pivoted multiple times throughout the history of our company. And this next opportunity is to take the software that allowed us to deliver so well to all of our clients and clinicians throughout the crisis and put it into their hands. Something that goes beyond just the original idea with nurses and beyond a platform for self-service. This is to actually integrate and place that software into the facilities holistically in a way that hadn't been envisioned prior to what happened with the crisis during COVID, and is the opportunity that we see going forward.
So just to encapsulate that, so I have that in my head, Jeff, so it sounds like the rebrand was both a repositioning, a recognition that you did more than nurses, because it sounded like it's all clinicians. And second of all, it's more a reflection of the fact that you're providing more than just a tech. It is almost like a full service organization where you're providing both the people and the technology, as you said, a service on top that happens to use some technology, as opposed to a pure software play. So it's more of a change both in positioning and a reflection of what you guys are able to do.
That's right on the money. It is a holistic approach to staffing, the entire continuum of staffing. Of course, facilities have their own full-time staff, but they turn to companies like ours for direct placement. And then there's some component of staffing that's going to be contingent and have maybe a travel component, maybe it's local, and there'll be some of it will include PRN, episodic shift delivery. And the best way for that entire continuum to be addressed is through a platform like SnapCare that holistically integrates into their HRIS, time and attendance, and potentially payroll solutions. And it's seamless. That yes, there's this interface between the two. And then, as you mentioned, part of the service delivery is now the consultatory aspect as to how to get the most out of the platform to ensure that they get all their staffing needs met.
So when you, again, at the beginning of your rebrand journey, Jeff, did you run into any challenges or resistance to changing the name? Were people really tied to SnapNurse, for example, and really kind of resisted maybe wanting to change that?
No, it's been an overwhelmingly positive response, but the bigger challenge is that, and it's probably going to be crazy to you and to your listeners to hear is that the first 4 to 4.5 years of our company, we did not have a marketing department. So the challenge wasn't the way in which we were received as far as changing to SnapCare. It was that here we were approaching rebranding, and that wasn't that happened in the last several months, as your listeners know. We just launched that, but it takes a long time to prepare and position for that. And while we were doing that, we were hiring in the CMO that we have today, who's only been with us for about a year. So those first 4.5 years, it was a company that was totally focused on service delivery and scaling the technology. And of course, rebranding requires a deep dive into marketing, the identity of the brand, the way it's received in the marketplace, and then how you're going to reposition it. So our biggest challenge was basically starting and building a marketing department while also beginning the journey to rebrand the company.
That is pretty surprising that you embarked on a rebrand without without a marketing department there to help push you. So kudos to you as business owners to recognize the need for a reposition, because most people would be more than happy to keep the status quo. So that is very unique, because I can say that most people we talk to who have gone through a rebrand, it's a marketing-led rebrand.
Of course. And it was here too. It just, those folks had to be brought into the company and brought up to speed. We often refer to the brand and identity of the company and the way we do things, the sense of urgency that exists, as snap time. And so, yes, we brought in a lot of great marketing talent and did a rapid, orientation, onboarding, and education history of the company and what we're all about. While they then do what their talent bring to us, which is, you need to think about the way that the market receives the brand. And we have two sides in our case, right? We have the clients on one side and then the clinicians on the other. And, their experience of the brand and what we bring to them is slightly different. So they helped us basically formulate the plan, as well as give us sort of a 360 about the way the company's received out there in the marketplace.
And how long did that sort of your brand journey take? I mean, I know you had to hire a team, so that maybe extended things, but how long, was this rebrand in motion? Was it 6 months, 8 months, a year? What was that?
It's 6 to 8 months, but the conversation started a year ago. So there were some initial conversations as we were coming out of the pandemic, which in the fall of 2022 was winding down for the most part, but not completely. And those conversations began, and that those were sort of high level, board level conversations that then led to decisions that put together a process to essentially go down this journey and rebrand the company.
So other than hiring the team, which is definitely a big challenge, what other challenges did you encounter, or did the team encounter as you were going through the journey? I mean, did you have to do a lot of tearing down and building back up? Did you take the opportunity to redo a whole new website? What were some of the things that, as part of the rebrand, you decided to take on?
Great question. And again, it speaks to the fact that we did not have a marketing department. And again, that is the reason for that is the speed of growth during the pandemic was just incomprehensible. It made us, the second fastest growing company in America in 2022 for Inc. 5000, and first in healthcare, and any aspect of healthcare, revenue cycle, staffing, any supply component. We were the fastest growing company in healthcare and the second fastest growing company of any kind. So I don't say those things to toot our own horn, but to highlight that kind of growth left certain things not put in place, a lot of infrastructure. One, an entire department, the marketing department. And then two is, yes, of course, we had to redo the website, but along with that were sales materials, training, the way we onboard and orient new staff, all of that. Not only did significant parts of it, like the website, have to be redone, but some of that orientation training essentially didn't exist. It was very verbal. Companies that grow like the size that we got over 20, 30 years, of course, they build in training departments, orientation, expansion of HR. So some of it's unique to us. that we grew so fast that those things we leapt over those. So there were gaps in the way in which, again, you got to go back and put in the infrastructure. So sales material, training material, the way in which we present ourselves, of course, through the website and all social media channels through LinkedIn, Meta, Instagram, all of that had to be revised and redone. In many ways, brought up to a level to represent, the size and significance of the company and what we had become.
And what's the reception been to the new name and the new brand? I'll start with internally. What's the reception been internally at your organization around it?
So I think the key to the rebrand is that we listened like we always have, but in this case, it was, it's extremely important. It can be dangerous to rebrand a company that's had a lot of success and has a lot of recognition, but our clinicians and our clients refer to us and have always referred to us as Snap. So some of that is that sense of urgency, the Snap time that I talked about, that's how they perceive what we're capable of, and they've even shortened our name to that. So I think in many ways, the response internally and externally has been overwhelmingly positive. And I think they all understand that we're still Snap, and what was SnapNurse and is now SnapCare. There's an awareness that we are bigger. Our value proposition is much broader. There's much more that we have to offer. And I think they understand that Snap is still, the core of the name and the brand, and that care, signifies a depth and breadth of what we have to offer that better matches our capabilities. So it's been incredibly positive response.
And have you seen a good response from, the prospects audience, the external audience? I mean, I know your customers know
Yeah.
you and kind of called you Snap, but have you seen any sort of results from that side of things?
Yeah, I'll share a story. We just went to one of the industry conferences. It's called Staffing Industry Analysts, SIA Healthcare Conference out in Las Vegas. And the response from our peers in the industry, other staffing platforms, other staffing agencies, was also overwhelmingly positive. And I think, our industry as a whole went through this unlimited demand essentially during the COVID crisis, and has gone through a contraction as expected. It was an impossible situation, not sustainable for anyone. And in that contraction, there's a retrenchment of sorts. And so I think the perception and the way our rebranding was received, I think it exceeded our expectations in many ways, in the sense that our peers saw us as we see ourselves. I think leading the way, this is how we will elevate what this industry can offer to our clients and clinicians, post-pandemic. SnapCare is the brand that wants to lead the way, and this is the vision by which we're going to do that, including how our peers can plug into our platform and be partners with us, so that all of us create an ecosystem that better serves our clients and their needs, because staffing leads directly to patient care. And that's really the other half of our name, is that we are touching patient care through SnapCare.
I like it. It's always a good sign when your competitors and peers in the industry are like, "Oh, that's a good rebrand." That's when you may have done something really right. When they go, "That's a better reflection of who you are." So that's
It's a
great,
good
and it's great
feeling.
that you had an opportunity to kind of showcase this at a conference, because that's always a nice test of a rebrand.
Very
As
true.
you look back on your year plus journey, Jeff, is there anything that you would do differently with your rebrand? Any lessons learned that you can share with us and our audience?
I'll say this, and I guess some of it is still unique to us, but I would say do not have a additional competing system priority that we did. So even days before the launch of the brand, we made an internal system change, and the public, our clinicians, they don't know any different, but we complicated our rebrand and the relaunch by changing a significant internal system at the same time,
Okay.
which I think I would say rebranding is a massive undertaking. It requires, changing domain names. a changing of a website. And a lot of it is there's a ton of preparation, but then you're flipping a switch. And when you do, you're not going to go back. And all of that is a huge undertaking. A lot of us behind the scenes work. And then, as we've talked just now, the way your customers, and in our case, that's two-sided, the clients and the clinicians receive and understand it. So there's a lot of messaging involved. There's a lot of messaging and answering questions post-launch. All of that is a massive undertaking. Do not complicate that by adding any kind of internal system change that touches all of your employees. That's what I would do differently.
Okay, that sounds like an interesting story unto itself. So definitely, I like that. Don't make it more complicated than it already is, right?
Agreed.
You've shared a lot of great information, Jeff. Where can people go to learn more about you and SnapCare?
Yeah, so snapcare.com, of course, that's our website. And as a two-sided marketplace, you're going to go immediately through a journey where a client goes down a portal. If you're a client, go through this channel and you'll get connected to one of our business development representatives, as well as facilitating the intake information about the size of the facility, the type of care, whether it's acute care, school nursing, post-acute care, or long-term care, the memory centers, all of those different kind of healthcare facilities. Versus I'm a clinician, I want to sign up, I want to get onto the platform. They go down a different journey, which then takes them through credentialing, getting matched for jobs, and that whole experience that gets them connected to opportunities for work, which is why they come to us to begin with. And then, of course, also LinkedIn, other social media like Meta, Instagram. And for myself, they can always reach out to me directly. As one of the co-founders of the company, my role has increasingly become more strategic to see, where are we going to head next as a company, and somewhat less operational. Opportunity to get the brand message out, like podcasts like today, as well as answer questions. So people can always reach out to me directly. I'm available through LinkedIn, or of course using our website.
Awesome, Jeff. Really appreciate your time and all the great information you shared with us today. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks, Colin. It was great to be here.
Okay, I want to thank Jeff for joining me on the program today and for sharing all the background information about the rebrand from SnapNurse to SnapCare. I really found it interesting that he didn't have a marketing department before they kicked off their rebrand. And I was actually really surprised that at the candor he shared around, hey, do not take on a systems change while you're doing a rebrand. That is definitely some sage advice. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, please like and subscribe. Also, head on over to Swaay.Health. That's Swaay with 2 A's, .health. And that's where you'll find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for being here, and I'll catch you on the next video.